Jeff Goodman, Bob Ryan here for the Ryan and Goodman podcast, talking Celtics on CLNS Media for the Garden Report. And Robert, pretty good win in the season opener for the Celtics. I did not have them beating the Milwaukee Bucks without Kemba Walker. I'm shocked.
Well, I'm never surprised at one isolated outcome in any sport, especially baseball, but any sport, things can happen. And I'll tell you, it coalesced at the end. If he had made both free throws, and if they had lost in overtime after a totally bogus call, the first controversy of the 2020-21 season in the NBA based on a referee not knowing why he's there and not having any kind of competence. I don't care if it looked like Thompson's arm was out. That there was no contact. And I'm not saying he flopped. I mean, he just fell, but he went down without contact. That would have been in a horrible way. So that said, I noted that Mr. Tatum did not use the word lucky when asked the question, did you intend to bank? He had some kind of, other way of phrasing it, but of course he didn't. And of course it was. So you got to take that, that we, the Celtics were very lucky in that regard. Bank threes are luck, folks, unless it's Rudy Tomjanovich in his prime. Take me and one night Larry Bird did it just to have fun with
just to do it.
Yeah, he did. He
really?
Did it. Yeah, Larry did that. They were up by $500,000. Larry has
Tatum's not at Larry Bird.
You don't do that down one.
That's right.
At the buzzer in an NBA game. So that was nice. That was nice.
One thing I'll say to that is whether he intended to do it or not, I think it was big for Jayson Tatum coming out of the gates, making a play like that, a game winner without Kemba over Giannis, and over a team that is still picked to win by most people, maybe not everybody, but picked to win the East. That's a hell of a shot, whether or not you call bank or not.
No, it was. It's a great. It was, and it capped a 30+ point evening, and it was, it's becoming. I thought was pointed out, kind of an interestingly typical Tatum game in which he's up and down,
slow starts,
and then he gets into it, and he had that run, the two great runs, and he winds up with 33, whatever the hell he got
30.
He got 33, 30.
30. Jaylen Brown, my guy, Jaylen Brown was.
Now we're going to get to the other guy. Yeah. Remember, one of our last discussions on the Celtics had to do with can Jaylen Brown elevate himself to become a legitimate night in, night out number 2 scorer and an all-star level player. And 1 over 172nd return is good.
That's right. That's right. I'm glad you said it that way. I'm glad you said it that way because, like you said at the start of this, it's still one game. We have to see this over a long stretch of time. But the game 1, Jaylen Brown was better than I thought he'd be, and that was the primary reason why the Celtics were able to beat the Bucks. Here's my biggest question for you, Bob. My biggest question watching the Celtics last night was, wow, Brad's playing Tristan Thompson and Daniel Tice together. Can you do that? Can you do that? Because in my opinion, they're very similar. Now, again, you've got Daniel Tice out there jacking a couple threes. He makes a couple early. Is it fool's gold? A little bit, because at the end of the game there, he missed a wide open one.
Don't be quoting Chris Webber to me now. Only kidding. Not my favorite player. But anyway, when he played, he called it fool's gold. And I mean, I know he makes a point. There are guys, I remember, look, we've all seen guys over the course of time that you hope, if you're the opponent, makes his first 2 shots, and you get and then gain a false sense of an undeserved, bogus sense of confidence because we know who they really are, and they want to keep, and you want them to keep jacking those shots.
That used to be Marcus Smart. That used to be your guy, Marcus Smart. It still is sometimes.
Yeah. Speaking of which, was that a classic evidence of that's Marcus Smart. He doesn't score from the floor, but he restrained himself. He only took 3 shots.
Right. Major impact in the defensive end still.
Taking 3 separate charges from you-know-who.
Yep. Guarding him on switches and absolutely. So getting back to my Tristan Thompson, Daniel Tice, I want to know your theory on this, whether it can work long-term or they're too similar in what they do, because they are both hard playing 4 or 5 men, whatever you want to call them at this point, that really aren't major factors, and you don't want Daniel.
There's a reason why Thompson's here, and it's because Tice does have limitations, right. and Robert Williams has limitations, and Robert Williams will have his moments in almost any game he's out there of a block shot or a big offensive rebound or something. We just hope he's going to develop into something more than just a little extra odd piece, but that's all he is still. And he may, and I don't know if he's ever going to be more than that, but you, in the course of a 48 moments, you can help it. All right. I want to see what happens Christmas Day, if that's the lineup. In other words, I took this to mean there's going to be matchups. There's going to be situations that until Kemba's here and maybe they assemble a proper starting five, we're going to see a mix and match on this. We're going to see, depending on who he's playing. I wouldn't expect to see that every night, that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be depending on, I don't know though. We'd have to ask Brad. I don't know if anyone popped that question. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because if you're not, again, if you're taking one of those guys out of the lineup, and I don't know how many minutes they played together at the same time. I would guess maybe eight minutes if I had to guess, something like that.
Yeah, they only played 47 total together.
Right. So I bet you they were on the court together, maybe 5 minutes, 8 minutes tops. So I don't think you're going to see a ton of it. But I'll tell you what, Bob, I really like the addition of Tristan Thompson. I love Tristan. I've always been a huge fan of his because I think he's an elite locker room guy. Elite. Like you talk to anybody in Cleveland, they rave about, even going back to his days at Texas. Is he limited? Yeah, offensively, but he knows what he is, Bob.
Always great. Always a great thing for anybody in any sport, particularly this one. Do you know who you are? Right. That's what we're always talking about with Marcus, exactly.
With Brad Stevens coaching him, when's the first 3 coming for Tristan Thompson, Bob? When does it change?
Oh, yeah, I know. I don't know. It'll come. It'll come, I'm sure. But no, we need a larger sample about what Brad's thinking is on this matter. I'm going out and saying I think it's going to be situational. That there'll be rotating starting lineups. By the way, Semi got 19 minutes last night, and
and that's where, again, are we going to see more of him? Because you need to me, it's got to be Semi or Grant Williams are the different looks, right? You're going to need another kind of forward, potentially, especially when Tatum or Jaylen Brown are not on the court. You need somebody. I love Grant, and maybe Semi plays more. Or maybe you're going, Jeff Teague was really, really good.
I'm not surprised, and I don't think you are either. That was really nice. He's got 25 minutes, 19 points, 4 assists. I was very enthusiastic about having him, and so that was wonderful immediate returns on Jeff Teague, and I think everybody's going to like Jeff Teague. He's a pretty good ball player. So no, I think that he's going to be significant. I think on this team.
As I tweeted, Jeff Teague on last year's team, Bob. How necessary would he have been? He would have been perfect.
Yeah, he would have. Yeah, he would have.
Coming off the bench, scoring guard. He's not somebody hit back and they said, well, they had a guy like him in Wanamaker. No, they're completely different players. Like Jeff Teague's a guy that when he gets out on the court, the other team has to know where Jeff Teague is because he can get buckets.
Yeah. So 17-point lead going into the fourth quarter. What's your already that's out there raging? Oh, they blew another lead. It's the NBA, folks. I know at the start of the fourth quarter, I'm going, okay, we got to finish the job. But I've seen it. I've seen 30-point leads. All right, but it was. Did you see it more as a Celtic, blowing it, or the Bucks really? Giannis had a terrific quarter.
Yeah, he just imposed his will on anybody and everybody in that.
Not just going to the basket. He had a 3. He posted up.
It was their defense more than anything. It was the Celtics defense more than anything, and the fact that they don't have anybody, and most people don't have anybody that can really check Giannis.
And they got out in transition, which means you got to make shots. If you make shots, they're not going to run. But and I'm not so put off by it. But I do remember. They didn't have a little run last year where they were habitually blowing leads.
Yes.
There was a stretch.
They did.
So, it does plant a seed in your head. I hope that you'd like to think that was, they got that one out, that part of their game out of their system. But it's the NBA. I don't overreact to that. I'm sorry. It's the NBA.
You know, my big thing, Bob, is what if Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum don't combine for 60 some odd points?
Well,
that's my concern. If they have a 4 for 20 shooting night,
which
are they capable of beating good teams? Like they had them both on, and they can beat just about anybody in the East when both those guys are clicking, and they weren't clicking the whole game. I'm not saying they will. No. They were. Like, the Bucks are still trying to figure themselves out too with Drew Holiday, right? And you know, listen, we love Pat Connaughton. We had him on the show. We love him. But anytime you have to put Pat Connaughton on Jayson Tatum for an extended period of time, right? I mean, it's not a good matchup for the Bucks. Like Jayson Tatum should be scoring. They should be going to him every single time and exposing that matchup because, frankly, Tatum can shoot over Connaughton every single time.
Yeah, every time. Now the Bucks only had 12 points off the bench, which I'm sure is going to be. Yeah. It's going to wind up being a season low. I wouldn't be surprised. You know, Connaughton was only 2 for. He took 3 shots. He made 2 with 3, 6, and he had 6. Bobby Portis. I think I expect a lot more. I think he's going to be a factor.
Yeah, Portis will average, you know, he should be able to get, 8, 10, 12, and some nights 15 points coming off the bench. Bryn Forbes was really good in San Antonio as a shooter. So they feel like they've bolstered the bench in Milwaukee, but it certainly did not look like that in the season opener. And again, they're getting used to, instead of Bledsoe, having Drew Holiday, which I think is ultimately a major upgrade. Like not even close. But, again, listen, first game, Boston Celtics get the win. I was a little bit surprised because, again, you're without your starting point guard ultimately. But Jaylen Brown certainly looked like he was working.
I love the fact that Jaylen scored every which way, too. Yeah. He made threes. He had nice stop-and-go moves in the lane. He did everything that you do that a scoring machine can do. He did. And I don't expect him to go out and average 33, so I'm not getting excited about it. But 20 is certainly feasible, and 21 points a game if he's going to play like that. There's a lot more to like than not to like. And in the end, you got a little lucky. You got lucky, because of a bank 3 and a guy missing a free throw, quite frankly, because we don't know what would have happened in the overtime, but I'm glad we didn't have to find out. But
you need a little luck, but when you have 2 stars, and it certainly looks like Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are stars, that makes it a little bit easier. There you have it. Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman, the Ryan and Goodman pod. Here we are on the Garden Report on CLNS Media.
First place Celtics.
There it is.